You have until April 25th, folks. Let's get back into it today. Hey, you're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. We have new warnings out from the manufacturing country that we mostly depend on, which is China. And some big companies out there that make a lot of shipments into the US are warning that on the 25th, prices are going to go up. So maybe by the end of this video, you're going to decide to make some purchases before April 25th to make up for it, but let's go ahead and get into it, or to get in before the deadline. Timu and Shein, both China-founded online companies, plan to raise prices for U.S. tariffs for customers because of the tariffs starting on the 25th of April. And this is based on the 145% taxes slash tariffs on exports to the U.S. And these are some very popular companies, and they've actually been kind of a competitor for Amazon and some other online companies that were the major players. Amazon still is the major player, but these ones are really coming up quickly, as you can buy directly from the manufacturer in many cases and at very low cost. And why don't we go ahead and take a quick listen
on China
here.
Started today as President Trump's increased tariffs on China started yesterday. Those taxes now total 145%. However, late Friday, the Trump administration said it would exclude electronics like smartphones and laptops from reciprocal tariffs, a move that could keep the prices down for popular consumer electronics that are not usually made.
So let me ask you, if the goal is to bring manufacturing back, why are we excluding certain items? Computers, laptops, electronic devices. We don't want to bring those manufacturing jobs back? Doesn't make much sense to you folks.
In the U.S. So this is going to benefit big tech companies like Apple and Samsung, and also chip makers like NVIDIA, setting the stage for what could be a tech stock rally tomorrow when the markets open. U.S. Customs and Border Protection said items like smartphones, laptops, hard drives, flat panel monitors, and some chips would qualify for the exemptions. Now, meanwhile, China has announced Friday that it will raise tariffs on the U.S. goods from 84% to 125%. And a lot of folks are wondering, what does this mean for me? For more on this, I do want to bring in.
So if you can keep track of all this, folks, if you can maybe make notes or sort it out or remember, okay, these items are excluded, these items are not excluded. You can invest and try to take advantage of all this tariff chaos, is what people are calling it, and try to invest where the tariffs are not being felt the most, or where are not being implemented the most or the highest. To me, it's just too much to keep track of, and it's changing every day. So there's no way I'm going to sit here and try to invest based on what they said at this day, and then at the next press conference they reversed it, and now they rolled it back. You know what I mean? So to me, it's all too chaotic and all too volatile right now to try to invest here. But let's go ahead and continue, see what they're talking about here.
Sandra Schwerki, who is the founder and CEO of Integer. And Sandra, as always, we appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks for having me back.
We have seen so much rapid development, so much back and forth, so many changes in just the last week alone when it comes to the trade war, when it comes to the United States and China ramping up not only their rhetoric, but truly their actions. And now we see these tariffs, triple digits in numbers, with the exclusion perhaps of some smartphones and chips. You know, can you talk about the significance of these tariffs, how it could
Exclusions today. What about tomorrow? They're going to change it again?
Trickle down and impact the average citizen? And then looking ahead, this is a three-part question. Looking ahead on what this might mean.
Sure. Thank you. Good Sunday morning to you. So we haven't seen this level of tariffs in a very long time, certainly not in my lifetime, where we have the U.S. imposing 100% plus tariffs on a country and the other country, China, reciprocating and putting equal, if not greater, taxes on all of our inputs into their market. And as we noticed over the past couple of weeks, there's been a lot of stock market volatility reacting to that. I think as they see businesses pulling back, the stock market has been fluctuating for sure. What this means for consumers is that goods and possibly services are going to be much more expensive in the very short term. The president's goal, is to bring a lot of those products and the making of those products, the manufacturing of those products back here to the U.S. But that
Stop right there. She said temporary short-term price increases. But then the goal is to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. Folks, that's going to take years and years to bring these manufacturing facilities, to open up the facility, to bring the jobs back, to recruit all the people, all the workers. And do you really think the workers in the U.S. are prepared for these manufacturing jobs like they are over in these other manufacturing countries? Absolutely not. American workers, I don't think, are prepared for this at all. I don't think we have the workforce here even to begin to manufacture. The population in China is 4 times of what it is. What is it, 1.3 billion? And here we're like 300 and something million. So we're about 4 times the population over there as we are in here. And here we're very ill-equipped to actually really have a lot of manufacturing, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's just continue with a couple other minutes out of this.
That's going to take some time. And in the meantime, what we're seeing is not just the stock market fluctuating, but real prices fluctuating. Let's start with the tariffs on smartphones and Apple Watches and the like. I think the president felt a lot of pressure, both from the stock market fluctuations, from his advisors, also from consumers, that they were really concerned about prices on these goods. And so we saw a 90-day pause on imports coming in from all other countries except for China. And for China, he exempted, as you noted.
All right, let's stop right there. And that's another thing. They had the announcement that these tariffs are going to go into effect for the whole world, basically. Then they put a pause on it. Then it got dropped down to 10%. And now it's just China that has the big tariffs, right? So again, who can keep up with all this, folks? If you want to invest in these markets, no problem. I'll still find trades here and there to try to benefit from this, right? Some of the volatility. But right now, I'm still bearish. I'm bearish on the markets here. And I think what we saw in the stock markets, I've been warning since November, since we found out which administration was going to take over. I've been warning about this volatility since November. So anybody that lost money in the stock market obviously probably wasn't paying attention, right? All right, but here's what's going on with these companies that are now very, very heavy importers into the U.S. Timu is one of them. I'll put a link down there to Timu, by the way, for those of you not familiar with Timu. They're actually much cheaper than Amazon. You have to kind of read the description, though, because you may get some items that aren't exactly what you would want as far as quality or material. A lot of polyester type of clothing and stuff like that. So read the description here. But Timu, which is owned by Chinese e-commerce company PDD Holdings, and Shein, which is now based in Singapore, said in separate but nearly identical notices that their operating expenses have gone up due to recent changes in global trade rules and tariffs. Both companies said they would be making price adjustments starting April 25th. So we have about 1 week until these price adjustments go into effect there for U.S. people buying stuff here. It remained unclear how much either company would raise the U.S. prices, but it was also unclear why the two rivals posted almost identical statements on their shopping sites. All right, but here's the big picture. The 145% tariff that was just slapped on here, coupled with the decision to end customs exemption that allows goods worth less than $800 to come into the U.S., that's going to be ended. That's going to be gone. We're ending the exemption. Into the U.S. has dented the business models of the two platforms. Well, it's more than just those two platforms. It's actually all countries have tariffs on them. Now it's been halted or dropped, in this case, to 10%. So you're likely going to see impacts elsewhere, but these China exporters are going to be some of the main ones raising their prices. And as we know, it even came out that the administration was basically admitting that they could cause a recession. But now might be the time to think about what you're buying and if you actually need it. Do you actually need it? Can you live without it? Right? Are you living to shop or are you shopping to live? Right? Kind of like the whole eating thing. Are you eating to live or living to eat? Maybe people will just have to cut back on things that they don't need and start looking for alternatives. If you can't import it, maybe find a local place that sells these things. It's going to be tough because a lot of the jobs were sent overseas over the many, many decades. Manufacturing jobs were wiped out for the most part. I mean, like 75% of the manufacturing jobs were wiped out and moved over to other countries. Now, also what we found out recently is that a lot of the luxury brands that people thought that were made in France and other countries were actually also made in China. And what they were doing is they were making the items in China, shipping them to France or whatever country, Italy, that they were going to advertise that they were made in, and then they would ship it from those countries. And since the emergence of this whole trade war tariff situation, we're finding out that luxury bags that used to cost, let me bring it up here, that still do cost $34,000 in some cases, what they really cost to manufacture. Chinese suppliers show luxury goods at 90% lower prices amid trade wars. So now they're coming out and they're saying, hey, this is what it really cost. And they're saying we really manufacture these luxury items, and I've got my quotations up here, luxury items for 90% lower than what they're being sold for. So the markup is like 90%, folks. Chinese manufacturers who supply high-end products to global luxury brands like Birkin, Louis Vuitton, are now selling similar items directly to consumers online at a fraction of the original price. Viral videos on social media show these suppliers offering the same goods minus the branding at nearly 1/10 of the market price. Right? So in other words, it's the same exact item without the fancy label, without the fancy name. Several videos circulating show these suppliers revealing they produce items for brands such as Chanel, Estee Lauder, Bobbi Brown, and more. These suppliers are offering the same goods without logos, claiming they are made with the same high-quality materials and skilled labor. Some suppliers even promise to cover import duties and offer free shipping. All right, let's take a listen to this one.
This Birkin bag at Hermes boutique will cost you 38,000 USD. But what is the real cost out of the factory? Today, I'm
$38,000 for a bag, folks. Top 10%. Probably top 1% buying that bag.
going to break it down in front of you step by step. First thing first, Hermes only use the leathers from the 3 top-level suppliers. One is called Nuti from Italy. The second is Weinheim from Germany, and the third is Haas from France. One piece of Togo leather, the same leather as this one, will cost 450 USD. And one piece of the leather is only enough to make one Birkin, okay? The thread. And of course, for Hermes Birkin, the thread is also the best top level. It's called Fil al Chinois from France. This is actually the Rolls Royce in thread. For each bag, the cost is 25 USD. And then the hardware. See, this hardware is called 316 hardware. It's also known as the ocean stainless steel because it can withstand the erosion of seawater. It's the best stainless steel. For one piece of bag, the hardware will cost 150 USD. The edge oil. This edge oil is imported from Italy. It's called heat sealed edge oil. For each bag, it will cost 50 USD. The interior lining, it used lambskin imported from France. For each bag, the cost will be 100 USD. And also inside, there is a zipper from Riri brand. And the zipper for one bag is 10 USD. And then the cost of human resource. The French artisans is much more expensive than Chinese artisans. To finish one bag, the human resource cost will be 600 USD. The package, this is not that expensive, it's 10 USD. So now to sum those up, the total cost will be 1,400 USD for one Birkin out of factory. But why Hermes will charge you 38,000 USD for one bag?
$1,400, folks, and people are paying $38,000.
That's because more than 90% of the price is paid for its logo. But if you do not care about the logo, you just want the same quality, same material, you can just buy from us. Because for our bags, we use exactly the same material, same leather, same hardware, same edge oil. The only difference is one, we don't have the logo.
No logo. So made in China without the logo.
So we don't have to pay so much amount of.
So there you go. All right, here's another one, folks. This talks about what's
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China. But those luxury brands just won't acknowledge that. They take almost finished bags from China factories back to their own factories and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that. That way, the bags will appear at their boutiques as made in Italy or made in France. You know, those sophisticated European countries, which make you feel mysterious, royal, and thus luxury. Now, close your eyes. Let's just do a little, very easy experiment in your head, okay? Imagine that you have an Hermes bag, and suddenly the label on it changed from made in France into made in China, while everything else, like leathers, zippers, and hardware, remain the same. Do you suddenly feel that your bag is not as luxury as before? If you do, that means you have been misled and poisoned by the market campaign of those luxury brands for too long. Welcome to the real world. Now you see, those bags are made in China by our intelligent and diligent Chinese artisans. Let's not be poisoned and misled by the market campaign any longer.
So there you go, people. Even the ones that are made in China, sometimes they'll get the components from Italy or whatever these luxury brands need to be considered luxury. The best zippers, the best leather, all those things. But it's a lot of times manufactured in China, and the ones that are manufactured in China contain a lot of the same products and components or pieces from the luxury brands, right? So they're really marking these things up, folks, like 90% markup on this. Also, what other impacts are being felt right now? Well, the US dollar is plummeting, folks. Let's bring up a 6-month chart here on the US dollar, and we can see the decline here over the past 6 months here. US dollar index, we were up to about 110, and now we're down to 99, folks. So this is a major decline. And you're also seeing it reflected in the price of gold. We have gold now, $3,342 as of this recording. All right, we're also seeing the money move out of the markets, out of the indices. The Dow Jones, for example, down almost to 39,000 now, while gold still continues to go up. So we can see the shift in the investment where the big money's running to for safety, for security, if you will, into gold in this case. That's going to be, I think, the big play here going forward. And we're also seeing crypto significantly down from the peaks here, down about between 15 and 20% for most of the cryptos. For example, Bitcoin, as I'm recording this, about just a hair over 85,000. Folks, bottom line is, this is good news if you look at it in a certain light or at a certain angle, right? We know that recessions, depressions, economic downturns are some of the best times to make money if you're prepared for them. So the reason I bring this up is I still see people very often say this is negative information, this is doom and gloom, this is depressing. Folks, this is great news. If you know how to invest in this, if you're ready to make money off of it, if you're prepared, you can make money off of it, folks. So this is good news. Recessions, to me, is good news, right? Are people going to be hurt? Of course. Yeah, people are always hurt no matter what. People are hurt when prices go up. People are hurt when prices crash, when there's an economic downturn, both ways, right? But I would rather see an economic downturn with falling prices and falling cost of living versus a never-ending continuous price rising cost of living, price levels continue to go up situation, right? But maybe we'll see the worst case scenario, which would be rising costs combined with little to no economic growth, major job losses and layoffs, but prices still continue to climb. That would be the worst. That means they continue to pump money into the economy or continue to throw fuel on the fire in the face of a massive economic downturn and job losses. Well, that would be the worst. In the past, what we've seen in depressions and recessions is banks really tighten up during those times. But if banks don't tighten up and people are still able to borrow more money and keep spending, even though a lot of other people are losing their jobs, you could still see prices continue to rise just based on the spending of the top 10, 20, 30%, when the bottom 70% have lost their jobs, they're wiped out, maybe they've lost their Social Security, maybe they're getting evicted, maybe they lost their homes, maybe they're homeless. but yet prices still rise even though most of the population is under severe financial distress. That would be a worst case scenario. That would even be worse than stagflation, folks. This would be something we've never seen before in this country. So we don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but keep an eye on this channel for more economic news updates, keeping tabs on all this stuff here, folks. Link down to that Timu link there down below if you wanted to get in before the 25th, which is going to be what they're saying is the price rise date, the 25th. But who knows? This all could change by then. So stay on top of this, folks. Please make sure you're subscribed right down here. And we'll talk to everybody very soon. Keep stacking. Big love. Bye for now. Peace.